Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Welcome to another episode of the Dynamic Dilettante. You know, obviously, as you know, I get really intrigued about things, really excited about things. I'm excited about Batman, for instance. It's one of the things that gets me all fired up. But I don't know that anything recently, certainly in recent years, has got me as fired up as the news that Amazon is doing a Fallout series that'll be coming to Amazon Prime. This will be based on the game Fallout. Now, I'm a big time fan of Fallout 4 in particular. I've been a big fan of Fallout 4. I like all of the Fallout games that I played. They're all incredible. Fallout 3 New Vegas is great. Fallout 4 I thought was actually the first in the franchise that I played. And so Amazon is bringing the Fallout world to the screen, and I'm just really jazzed as I heard about that. And we're starting to see also some of the first photos from the sets. They are, and it's pretty incredible as you look at some of the Fallout show sets that are showing some of the vaults, showing some of the power armor. Now, listen, it is showing the Super Duper Mart, among a number of other things. If you're not a Fallout fan, a lot of this probably is just not, you're going to, what, Fallout 4, you know, and if that's the case, oh, sorry for you. I mean, seriously, run out and buy a copy of Fallout 4. You absolutely must. It is, I thought it was one of the most intriguing games, one of the most difficult, but then it had so much humor in it, had so much drama in it, just incredibly diverse and different characters, just off the wall robots, and it's just absolutely incredible. So as I heard about that, I thought, you're kidding me. When I heard that they were making a Fallout series, I'm like, you got to be joking. I was just absolutely pumped about it, jazzed.
What I didn't realize is that Amazon Studios has released a trailer in like July of 2020, which for the most part doesn't really show too much. You can see it here.
Yeah, let's roll that. You don't see much, but what you see, Fallout fans will immediately understand what you're saying. Now, those who have played the game know that Please Stand By all so well, and we've seen it many, many times. And just that alone, seriously, I got like goosebumps after watching that.
I know you just got jazzed about that even when I was playing that game the other night, because I'd started playing Fallout again on the new Xbox. So.
Right. And honestly, I enjoy watching you play. It's not even a game that I need to be actually playing. I just like watching it unfold. And you got a lot of diverse characters. Apparently there aren't a lot of details yet about people in the set or in the show. But we are seeing some photos of the Super Duper Mart. For those of you who have
I'll pull some of those
played Fallout before, you might recognize the Super Duper Mart comes around in Fallout 3, and then you see it, of course, in Fallout 4 as well. The Super Duper Mart, and of course, everything's trash. If you don't know any of the premise of the game at all, basically, as you can imagine by the name, you're talking about this is in the aftermath of nuclear war. So there's been nuclear war. There have been bombs that have gone up throughout the United States. The United States has been hit very hard. As you learn throughout the series of the Fallout games, you go from kind of one area. They're set in different parts of the United States. Each game is.
Yeah, the Fallout, I don't remember where Fallout 1 is. Fallout 2, somewhere on the East Coast. And then Fallout 3 is in Washington, D.C. 4 is in Massachusetts,
Yeah.
Boston area.
And
Then
then you
there's
have-
Fallout Vegas, which is
Right.
obviously in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, exactly. So you've seen devastation from around different parts of the world. But to see that Super Duper Mart, when I'm like, honestly, when I first saw that, I'm like, well, these are screenshots from the game. No, they're not screenshots from the game. It's actually, these are real sets that have been built and they're out and filmed. Yeah, that's pretty. And again, you got the old, they look like old cars. Now, this is a futuristic story. I forget what year this is set in. This
It's
is
in,
what,
like,
like 2130?
Yeah, it's about there.
Yeah. Is about where the game is set. One of there are just so many things I liked about Fallout 4. The humor of that game, I'm excited to see if the guy who provided the voice of Codsworth, who was one of the robots.
Yep.
I hope they can get him to come and do something in the show.
Yeah. It sounds like from what we've gathered, I didn't even realize they were making this show, to be honest with you.
I didn't either.
And my only hope is that it's not as bad. It doesn't end up like Halo, because sometimes video games that have been made into TV shows just don't really translate well. This one though, I think I have a little bit more hope for. It sounds like they're shooting some of this stuff out in Staten Island for the most part.
Yes.
For the
Exactly. At least based on what we're hearing and based on what's being reported. And thing about Fallout is there are a lot of people who just absolutely love that game. They absolutely love the Fallout game, which or any of the Fallout series.
Right.
It's such a rich series. And the more information we're seeing, the more exciting it is. So we're seeing, like, for instance, vaults and power armor. We've seen the Super Duper Mart. A few of the props have been out there. There's a photo of someone wearing a vault jumpsuit who can be seen holding a cup of coffee. Pretty fun. I mean, and this just recently leaked.
I think within about the last 2 weeks, there's a gentleman, he goes by, I think it's Omacho Mondo on Twitter. He must live in the area around Staten Island or something like that, where they're actually going to be filming Fallout, or at least the stuff around the Super Duper Mart, because he will just randomly post updated shots of these sets that they've been designing.
And it looks like pretty exciting stuff. I mean, it certainly has attracted my attention as a fan of the Fallout, especially for me. I first came to the franchise with Fallout 4. I found Fallout 4 purely by accident, looked intriguing. I had heard that it was a good game. And so I picked up a used copy of Fallout 4. And I've got to tell you, there is no game that has just dominated my life as much as the Fallout 4 game did. It's just incredible. And as I say, it's not just because it's a shoot 'em up. There's all kinds of violence. There's puzzle solving. The characters are just so incredibly detailed and well drawn. It is funny as all hell. I mean, that's one of the things I loved about Fallout 4 and still love about it. That's one of the reasons, Katie, why I love watching you play.
Yeah. And here you can see I found a couple of these photos you were talking about. These are some of the switches outside of one of the vaults.
Yep.
Here's the corner of some power armor. P60 suit. Yeah.
And so the power armor, obviously, for those not familiar with Fallout, and I hate to keep saying that because I know some of you won't be familiar with Fallout, but for those of you who are, this is going to be so good. I mean, I hope this doesn't become another like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I was so let down by that entire series. The prospect of this, and based on what we've read so far, The people that are involved in this are the right people. They've got great people that are going to be a part of this. Um, excuse me, as I want to make sure that I give people credit who deserve it. Kilter Films, as you saw on the preview that we just played, that's the production company of Westworld. And so Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy. So Westworld, which you and I have talked about previously, which is a great show. If that's the kind of creative folks that are coming to work on this Fallout series, could be wonderful.
Because if I remember right, it's Jonathan Nolan and it's also his wife who is also involved.
Yes, Lisa Joy, right?
Lisa,
Yep.
it's another Nolan.
Excuse me. Gotcha.
Lisa Joy is also involved, though.
Yep.
Remember where I saw of course, we had to watch a ton of YouTube videos. We were so excited about it.
We did. Honestly, it was like a kid at Christmas on Christmas morning. I was so excited to see this. I just hope they don't mess it up. I wanted to share some other news here. So you got some pretty great people who are going to be part of the creative around this. We don't know anything about the story at this point, which I would expect. Shooting, according to reports, has already been underway. One
other thing I was pretty happy to see is Todd Howard, who's one of the heads at Bethesda, is also an executive producer on this.
I agree, because Todd Howard, you and I have watched just a number of videos of Todd Howard.
Right.
Over the years on a number of different times. And the guy is incredibly sharp. He's funny. And he's a part of this.
Right.
So you got Bethesda involved in this series. And that is, I think, absolutely great news. No, it's not like anybody's out in the cold and saying, oh, this isn't our vision. This isn't what we originally wanted. This isn't, I'm not saying that isn't possible and that
right.
Those comments won't come, but.
And from this, I think this is from a Dextro article. Some of the people they know that have already been slotted to actors that have been already slotted. Walton Goggins, you've seen him in Ant-Man and Justified. He was really great in Justified. I loved him. Ella Purnell. I can't say I've seen that Yellow Jackets. I know it just is. It's a series on Showtime. Keeps popping up in when I'm trying to watch Billions. Kyle MacLaren from Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Celia Miradez, Havoc. Aaron Motten. I can't say I'm familiar with a lot of those actors, with the exception of Walton Goggins. So.
Well, and he's, if I understand correctly, what he plays is a ghoul. He's a ghoul. So the ghouls are people, exposed to radiation and have created these ghouls because of the extreme radiation and Fallout. So, and some in the game are hilariously funny. There's real opportunities there for good entertainment. I mean, I think that's what Fallout has provided previously. So the Fallout games take place in 2102 is the year when the Fallout games begin. 2102. Fallout 4 takes place in 2287. So the Fallout series, according to reports, are saying that Fallout in this series will likely take place within that 185-year time frame.
Yep.
And based on the photos that we're seeing of the Super Duper Mart, that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that's exactly what it looks like in the game too. I mean, the aesthetic is looking right, and color schemes are looking right, and just
bland and kind of washed out,
right?
And
busted out. I mean, heck, it's post-apocalyptic, and everything's been blown out by a nuclear bomb.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, I gotta say this is one I'm actually excited for versus the litany of Star Wars things that may be coming out, or the litany of Well, I sent you that this morning. It's all the Marvel Phase 5 stuff where I'm just like, eh.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Not excited about any of
Right.
that. But you know how I hopped around when you mentioned this to me. I
Yeah.
thought you were joking.
Well, I think it was just sheer dumb luck that I found it on. I don't even remember. I think it just popped up in my YouTube feed. And I'm like, oh. And then I waited to watch it until I could come home because I knew you'd wanted to see it. So
Well, and I'm so glad you did. I mean, and as we watch that, I'm like, oh no, this cannot be real. And it looks, at least to me, it looks absolutely fantastic.
about the only thing that would make it bad would be as if it's a multiplayer Fallout 76 kind of thing,
Right.
which is just utter trash.
Right.
But like I said, they have the right people involved. They've got a good studio involved, good writers.
Yes.
So
And with Bethesda involved, and it sounds like, and again, based on these photos, I mean, this is very specific to the game.
Mhm.
If you have seen the games, you're gonna, it will absolutely, you will recognize it. It's versus, and and I just mentioned this briefly to each other previously in regard to Halo. Halo, yeah, but what we're seeing already from this is, again, I'm not a Halo fan, so I guess I can't speak too much to that.
Well,
But you really didn't feel that it captured the flavor of the game at all.
no, but the thing with Halo is the aesthetic was there,
Yes.
but the whole scripting and the storyline and stuff like that was not in cogent with the actual video game.
Well, and that's why I'm excited when they say we've got the creative team from Westworld, that's going to be behind this, because as you and I have said previously, Westworld's has been an incredible series.
Yeah, it's a really good show.
Yeah.
A little bit behind on the last season, but we're working on it.
Yeah. But I mean, from handling the technical and the special effects kinds of aspects of all that, which have to be a part of this Fallout series, obviously, will have to have that same kind of feel. Well, they certainly accomplished that, I think, very, very well in Westworld.
I think for this one to be good, they really are going to have to capture that the narrative aesthetic of it too, because again, it is one of the things that just gets you hooked with Fallout is just the interaction with different characters, the dark humor. I mean, it's dark, but I mean it's kind of morose in a little, in some spots, and it's just off the wall.
It is.
But it's a post-apocalyptic series. I mean, not going to be, rainbows, puppies, and it's a mutated rainbow, a three-headed dog.
Yeah. I just found it to be the most engaging video game that I've ever played, Fallout 4. And my love for that game then led me to want to play some of the other Fallout games. Play Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, which I thought was incredibly well done. Also a great game.
I know you weren't super hot on Fallout and Fallout 2 just for the simple fact they're kind of turn-based games.
Yes.
So that's not really my jam myself.
Nor mine either.
Right.
Because by the time you started getting into Fallout 3 and these later games, now they're more the traditional RPGs, and yeah, absolutely tremendous. Where you design your own character in terms of its how it appears, but in terms of the stories and what you go through. And I've forgotten, it's as watching you replay that game, Fallout 4.
Yep.
It's like, forgot all about that. That was such a great segment, or
Heck, you even had to pull out the book to help me the other night. We just refused to Google.
Trying to find our way around the Capital Wasteland. So I have the Fallout, the 4 book. But this, I think this looks really, really good. If obviously, if they don't screw it up.
All the ingredients are there. Let's just hope the right chef's in the kitchen.
Right.
The other, it sounds like if they just started shooting, I think probably the earliest we'd see it from just a couple articles I read on it. Probably we're talking late next year
Right.
at the earliest.
Which will go by fairly quickly, I think. If they're serious about it, they're already shooting, and they know where they're headed, and it certainly looks that way. So just based on some of the things that we have heard, I'm trying to see if there's any other news that we want to share with you. The Kyle MacLachlan, you mentioned him,
Yep.
McLaughlin. He'll be playing an overseer, which is, so he'll be the leader of one of the vaults then. Trying to see what other tidbits that we may have. There are a couple of stories that have been out there, and want to give credit to those who have done work on this. But I think the word initially was that Fallout would be coming in July 2020, which obviously has not happened. But based on the behind the scenes, what we're already seeing, it's pretty exciting stuff, at least to me.
I think where I've seen most of the updates, I've seen a couple things. I haven't seen much on IGN, but I've seen it on Dextro and then /film.com. So
yeah, and there's a story that recently here in the last 24 hours from The Gamer, and they're saying the latest leak from the set of the upcoming Fallout show reveals vaults, power armor.
Yep.
Well, that we've already know. The news comes from a user on Twitter who claims to have been sent some pictures that were taken at the filming location. The user promptly posted those to social media. So
yeah, those are the ones we had just pulled up on Twitter.
So you see again,
like
the
I
vault,
was-
Super Duper.
So like ours, Twitter is where you generally find most of your stuff. There's always somebody who's something.
I think this looks like an exciting show. It's one that I'll look forward to, and just hope that we won't be disappointed, as we have been with so many other things recently.
I know over the last few weeks, it's kind of been like, well, Greg, what do you want to talk about this week? And there hasn't been really much that's struck either of our fancies.
Well, we've really just not watched much. I mean, I'm watching television, but I'm not watching any series or you got to see this. There's just not anything out there that I would recommend to people right now.
No.
So when this comes along, it's like, wow.
Right.
And I understand especially why fans of Fallout, there was a couple of people we have found the channels and video, or I should say the videos and information that they're producing online. It's all Fallout. It's all about the Fallout series. They're not doing anything but Fallout. And I understand the passion for the game and for this upcoming series. But anytime there's a lot to live up to, and there is here, it runs the risk then of disappointment as well.
Well, that's exactly what happened. I hate to keep comparing it to Halo, but I mean, fans had been waiting for over 20 years for a show or something like that to be made for that, and it was just a complete letdown. And then they play it off like, oh well, it's meant to be something different. It's like, you don't take a series that's been running that long,
right,
and then just completely cut all the lore out of it and just, well, we're gonna do our own thing. Let's go make your own dang Space Odyssey thing.
right. And it sounds like they don't want to repeat that mistake with the Fallout series. It sounds like, because they've got the right people involved from the get-go. These are not people who are going, well, we never played Halo, so but this is what we hope to accomplish with Halo. It's like, who the hell cares?
But it's the same thing with like Rings of Power. You're seeing that come out. I think Amazon Prime is releasing that. I want to say it's in September. I know we haven't talked about it a whole lot, but honestly, I don't know about you, but I read a lot of the J.R.R. Tolkien books. I mean, I've read the Lord of the Rings. I've started reading some of the Silmarillion, because I was kind of interested in that because I had heard, it'd been getting some traction. It was earlier this year. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be great because
Right.
again, that's only based on about 150 pages. That's an appendices for the Return of the King. And there's not that much time, but they're just taking it and they're just like, man, well, we're going to just go do whatever the heck we want with it. We're going to take this existing universe and this mythos and this, stock of characters. We're just going to make it what we want out of it. And you've got people who are involved who have no respect for what J.R. Tolkien set forth. That's something that doesn't need, it's like when you're making a really good dish where a little bit of extra seasoning is good, but when you add a lot, you just trash the entire dish.
Yeah, exactly
That's-
right.
To me, that's what it feels like. It's like you've got something that's darn near perfection, and you're going to take it and just throw a bunch of salt on it. I mean, like what Peter Jackson did when he made the film adaptation for the
Very deliberate, very careful, very respectful
Right.
of the material.
for Lord of the Rings, it was great. I mean, I will say the extended editions are better than the theatrical release because it adds just a little bit more that really helps flush out some of the areas. But man, I don't know. To me, it feels like a lot of these studios, again, they're just taking something that Peter Jackson made a really good thing, and it's kind of got that same flavor, the one that Amazon, the Rings of Power.
Yes.
And they're trying to say, oh, we're going to just take this existing thing with this existing fan base and we're going to go screw it up.
Yeah. And
I guess is what I'm sorry. Long way of getting around to. That's what I'm,
no, but you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I hope that we don't see that happen with Fallout
right.
because you and I are talking about it. People are out. This is all they're talking about on their social media. Fallout and the Fallout series and any information.
Right.
People are just absolutely hungry, first of all, for information about it because
It's like
they're
you and
fans.
Batman.
Yeah. They're fans and they're excited and they want to be a part of it. Why would you then want to, as with Halo, let's do something that the fans are absolutely going to hate? For the life of me, I can't understand that. I can't explain that.
Well,
Makes no sense.
Again, I'm not an actor, so I mean, I'm not an actor. I'm not a creative person who's involved. I mean, I push buttons here, and that's about the extent of my creativity. I'm creative if we can get this thing launched one day.
Right.
But I just don't see how somebody who's going to be involved in one of those films and stuff like that isn't at least digging somewhat into the games, isn't digging somewhat into the books, in like Halo sense or something, is getting in and reading some of that stuff or playing the games or talking to people who are involved in the creation of that franchise to really get a respect for what art they're trying to produce at that point.
Right.
I mean, to me, it's just like, yeah, there's 20 years of history here, but I'm going to go, just do what I want because I can.
And that certainly doesn't seem to be the case here, and I hope that holds true.
And it translates when it comes on screen, when people
Yeah.
don't give a shit about what they're doing. Pardon my language.
Exactly. Well, and that's why even just seeing the trailer and then seeing that, the test screen
Yep.
on the television, I like just that was so right. I mean, they got that right. Now, it's one thing to get a 15-second teaser trailer right.
Right. I mean, I go crank up Halo right now, you're going to see that same thing. Or not Halo, I'm sorry, Fallout. My bad.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just am looking forward to it. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. At least I'm hoping so. I think we'll know fairly quickly whether or not they're going to hit the mark or miss it.
And I'm sure probably as the year goes on, we're going to see more. We'll see more footage coming out of that, probably an actual trailer.
Yeah.
Versus just a teaser. My guess would be we'll probably see it right around the first of the year, right around Super Bowl time would probably be when we start seeing some of that stuff. That would just be
which will be great.
Yeah.
So it's that this is one of those shows I'm going to be looking forward to. Really, I mean, yeah, did I want to see Obi-Wan? Yeah, I wanted to see it, and but you know, it just didn't deliver. And even by the end of it, it's like, oh, I'm so glad that's done. I'm so glad we don't have to go through that. You know what I mean? This will be something that if they do it right for fans of Fallout, this will be a huge, huge series.
I know the one I'm looking forward to seeing right now, coming up in just about a month, actually, is House of Dragons is going to start releasing. We haven't talked about it much.
No, we haven't.
We'll have to talk about that maybe a little bit next week.
Yeah, I know. You and I just recently watched. Yep. What did they release?
HBO just released another new trailer. It's like a 2.5 minute trailer. It's really good. There's a lot of footage from the actual show. Excuse me, today.
Yeah,
I know.
Me too.
I know I said there wasn't very many actors that I had recognized through the trailers, but you said there was a number you had recognized. I know the one I recognized right off the bat was Matt Smith, but I know he's one of the main Targaryen characters.
Yeah, I don't know that he looks right with that blonde hair, but that's it's like I'm just too used to see. Yeah, but he's a great actor.
Yeah,
and he, you know, if he's part of that series, Game of Thrones, they really had done things right, and they had talented people as not only actors, but you had very talented people who were writing the show, producing the show. That promises to be really good.
And I kind of wonder how this is going to turn out versus like you had seasons. I can't remember if it was season 6, 7, and 8 for Game of Thrones that started going off book from what George R.R. Martin had already put out.
Right.
I think it's 6, 7, and 8. Quote me, could be 5. But this one is completely done based on material that's been written. So it'll be interesting. I haven't listened.
Well, and that was part of the issue with Game of Thrones, wasn't it? Was he was still writing the books,
right?
And they're producing the series,
right?
So they got to a point where we're just going to have to go ahead and tell our own story.
Oh yeah, there is. I think he has like 2 or 3 books left to write in just that Song of Fire and Ice, which is the actual material that was used for this TV series game.
Right.
So. Yeah, and he doesn't produce books very.
But that show I thought was phenomenal.
Yep.
And if they're going to, you know, tell another story, the material's already out there. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. That's why I kept HBO. HBO didn't go on the chopping block. Disney did.
Right. So we'll have more news about Fallout 4 as it becomes available. You know, that's one of the things that we'll be watching very, very closely. Thank you so much for letting us join you, kind of get you up to date on what'll be happening with Fallout. We'll, so long until next time. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. And if you hated this video, give us a thumbs up anyway. we don't care. Just and share it. It would be very much appreciated. And we'll see you next time. Same time, same bat channel.